My name is Mark Olson. I'm the founder and president of Flokk Systems. Flokk Systems is for Alberta ranching families that 4 years ago we saw an opportunity and a simple, affordable solution for digitizing livestock herds. Um, Cattle, cow-calf herds. So the typical process for a Canadian cow-calf herd, the calf is born starting now, early February, some through May. Through May, it stays with the original farm through to the fall. Then it goes to a feedlot, spends about a year in the feedlot, and goes to slaughter at about 12 years. So that original part, that cow-calf ranch in Canada, that's a $5 billion industry, and they're all managed on these little cardboard books. That's 70% of ranches have no digitization at all. And the reason they use cardboard books is it doesn't require power. It works in the cold. It works when you're wearing gloves. It doesn't need connectivity and so on. So we looked at this problem and said, okay, if you're going to digitize that space, you've got to reproduce those attributes, affordable and simple. This is our current prototype. So there's about 20 of these exist. With our own funds, we got to the prototype. We got the core software in place. We evaluated them on 10 ranches in Alberta and confirm we can deliver the price, the price and functionality we want. We've got a device that is probably about a quarter the acquisition cost than anything's out there today. But more importantly, it's all as an integrated unit. In Canada, every livestock animal has, how close can I get the focus? Has one of those in the ear. And it's an RFID tag. And it's for what's called livestock animal traceability. What actually happens is when the cow's slaughtered, that goes into a baggie, gets attached to the carcass, so that as they're breaking down their carcass, there's a oh, shit moment. You can track right back to the whole system so that if it's something, if it's an infectious agent, you can track down the other animals related to it. That's kind of the overview. What I propose is I will pull up our pitch deck, which I will go through very quickly to kind of give an overview of the company. And then we'll pause and take questions. I can do a display. We can either dig into a demonstration of the product, or I also have some of the steps along the way. We can get into the gory hardware solutions. So let me do a share here. So as we said, our focus is to provide a solution for. Sorry, have you got the slide deck or there?
That's
Making
looking
sure you
good.
get.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. All right. So again, our focus is to take the traceability, sustainability, and the productivity of livestock herds, and rather than manage them in the office on paper, manage them digitally, right, pushing out right at the animal side. We already talked about the size of the industry, what we're trying to address here. Our vision is basically you collect data once digitally at the animal side, and then migrate it on to the various partners that you need to deal with it. We have a central traceability registration database here in Alberta. We have a sustainability initiative. The general idea is that if you adhere to certain practices, you get paid a credit for that, for your sustainability credit, and then and so on. We've had a set of pending regulations here in Canada for traceability. Where I made the final decision to pursue Flokk full time was in 2020. I went to a meeting with a bunch of ranchers, and there was someone from there in the government saying, "Here's the traceability regulations. You're going to do this and this and this and this and this and this." And I looked at 10 ranchers with stunned looked at their faces, not a clue how they're going to do it. And I said, "I know how you're going to do it." The whole thing politely is a shit show. We got government kind of heavy-handed trying to mandate this obsolete technology. And we had a big blow up here a few weeks ago with some petitions on change.org and some upset ranchers in meetings. we're hoping to see opportunity here because we knew this was going to be an issue, and we're hoping that Pi can be part of the, an affordable solution to solve this problem. Um, and our other aspect of is the data requirements of a ranch. It's not going to end. We're kind of uniquely positioned here in Canada to sustainably maintain and grow our beef production. We see huge export markets, but it's going to require rigor and traceability and so on that is typically not available on most ranches. The legacy solution to this is a cloud-based piece of software that you access with a tablet or a laptop out at the animal side, and then you have a separate RFID reader wand. By combining the two, we really can drive down the cost, but more importantly, we can improve the usability of it. When you have a tablet and a wand, you've occupied two hands. You've now fully occupied a person to doing it. We'll sell Flokks with a holster so that when you can pull it out of your holster, collect the data, stick it back in the holster, that individual is still available to help manage the cattle. Makes a huge difference on a typical ranch that just can't afford to dedicate personnel to the job.
Sorry,
The core of our
Mark, hold on a second. So up the top of the screen, there's a small sub-screen or a small,
oh,
right, so if we just move that out of the way somehow. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there you go.
that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
Thanks.
Um,
We have to go back a
the
slide. I'm not sure.
yep. Our
Yeah,
the
sorry.
core of our value proposition is by digitizing the ranch, you um, the paper records are fine for the ranch's internal use for their own management. The value proposition of Flokk is when you have to get the data off that ranch. And if you can get the data, make it easy to get it off the ranch and engage various partners where there's value enabled by the data, we take a chunk of it on the way past. Our business model is based on subscriptions. So that gives us two advantages. It lets us focus our need and cost to the needs of every specific customer. But it also means, unlike the competition, we don't have to make money off the hardware. If we got enough capital behind us, I'd just give them away because we really see that as an advantage in doing it. The other reason that we really emphasize affordable for the hardware, these will not go obsolete. These won't go obsolete. What's going to happen is on a March morning, it's going to get dropped down into a chute full of effort and smashed. And so we recognize that from the basis of it. The data is backed up on our servers. The hardware is ruined. Fine. It's affordable to get a new piece of hardware, pick up where you're going on. That's the problem with the current models is you got a $800 tablet and a $3,000 reader out in the middle of a cattle yard. Doesn't really make a lot of sense. We're seeking 1.2 million capital to get to what we think will be quite a profitable company. The entrenched competitor thinks this is a $100 million business here in Canada alone, and it's at least 10 times that between and North America. I'm not going to worry about that unless if one of your investors reach out and we'll share that to it. We've been extensively made a lot of effort to engage the industry, customers, and so on, even though we didn't have a product ready, because we wanted to have the brand in place so that we were ready to go for sales when the time comes. We also kind of had the cynical philosophy. We knew this blow up was coming in the space and the disconnect between the expectations of the regulators and the reality of the ranchers. And we want to be top of mind when people start looking for that solution. So we're hoping that's what's now going to happen. As we said, there's 60 ranches in Canada. They're going to have to do some traceability, and we want to be the compelling solution for that. Ultimately, if our strategy is successful, this is not a solution. This is a platform play. We want to offer the compelling solution for traceability, both in terms of cost and functionality, because we want the rancher on our platform. Because once we have them there, then as they move on to future requirements, the easiest way for both parties is to just add the functionality into a Flokk. And yep, I think that's the last slide. Where is the interest of the group? Do you want to see a demonstration of the product? Do you kind of want to walk through the technical details?
My instinct is, hey, I'd love to see a demo. I'd love also to hear about the prototyping process.
Um, let's do a quick demo here.
Great.
Oh, oh, hang on, share. Hang on here. We're gonna stop the share and get rid of. All right. Hopefully you've got the share and you haven't got the funny little window on it. Is that working?
No, we've only got a little grey bit with S in it
Oh,
and F.
now you got it.
Ah,
There you go.
It wasn't happy working across the dual monitors. So what you're seeing is this. What it actually does, I have to show off how clever it is. What this does is there's a telnet server in it. So basically what you're seeing is a standard telnet client coming into this so that we can echo it. And this is what it's for, so that I can throw the screen up on a big projector on it. So the rancher carries this in their back pocket. They use it, and and they can scan a tag, so you can see the distance. When the light flashes, I've scanned the tag. So it's scanned that tag, and it said, I didn't recognize it. I've never seen that tag before. What do you want to do? So the range of options you could do. We could be moving in animals. So the fire rancher has bought some new replacement heifers. They're bringing them onto the ranch. They have to record that into their inventory and report to the traceability authority. They could be adding in a calf. There's a new calf on the ground. It could be a replacement tag. The cow's lost their old tag. You got to put a new one in. You have to update your records, plus send all of the paperwork in, and so on. So let's add a calf. Oops, how did I get there? Oh, sorry. I waited too long. It timed out. So it said I've never seen that tag. What do we want to do? So let's add a calf. So the first thing it asks you to do, what do you want to tag, the hang tag and the calf? So you see there's two tags, the RFID tag and one that hangs down on it. It knows how you like your tags formatted. It knows the last tag you used. So it just takes a couple of clicks with this toggle to select the tag you want to put on it. Then we have to put in the birth date. Same thing. It knows the last calf work you've recorded. So this calf is going to be with 1 or 2 days. So a couple of clicks and we've got the tag in. The gender is obviously just push a button. Neuter is if you've castrated the calf. Then it asks for a display. The display is just a description you want to put on the animal. You can use whatever you want. These are just kind of a standard set of colors used here in Canada. The dam is the cow. Which cow did it came out of? If you're close enough to the cow and the cow's close, you can just go scan her tag. But typically, you're going to put it in like this. So this is how you select your tag. So these buttons now are your cursors. They move the cursor back and forth. The toggle goes up and down to select values, and then the done key. And that's all it's required. We've now added a calf into the records, but we've also created the traceability records that'll eventually have to be sent into the government. So the next time I deal with that calf, I scan the tag, brings up the calf records. So the things I can do are we can see dam. We can go look at the cow's records. We can go see come back and see the calf records. We can see the dam. We can also apply what we're calling a condition. It's just basically some attribute of the calf you want to do it. Is it ill? Was it injured? Is it a lame calf? Does it have scours? Scours is an antimicrobial disease, kind of common here in Canada. Then there's all this movement stuff, movement of the animals. I'll get into it if anyone has interest in it. Wrong tag says I've got the wrong CCI tag, the wrong RFID tag. I've got to correct that. And we can go in and look at the history. So now, so we can see it. On the 27th, we neutered it, we recorded as scoured, and so on. That would be the entire history. When you get back into the ranch house, there's Wi-Fi in here. So when you get back into the house, it says, oh, I've got Wi-Fi. Anything to submit? Yes. And then it submits it. So it'll either submit the traceability records into the government repository, plus it'll also synchronize the data from here to our online tools so the ranchers can use that if they want. The other option is there's a USB port on the bottom. And what happens is this goes into gadget mode and emulates this USB storage device. So you can just plug this into any computer and there's your records. As long as you've got a computer with a spreadsheet on it, you can access your records. Any other questions on the demonstration?
So do you have issues with just data being lost or corrupted or anything like that, or is it fairly robust like you have?
It's fairly robust. We keep our data storage very simple. It's just CSV files because again, if something's gone down, you've got something that the user is going to be able to recover with. Because you're battery powered, you really the only failing you have to be able to deal with is loss of battery power. At the moment, we detect low power and just do an orderly shutdown. The final product will have to have a more sophisticated solution than that. But we are kind of unique in this space that we do all the data management on the device and then hand it off somewhere else. And that's simply because there just isn't power and connectivity on it. It does mean you got to be really careful and rigorous with the software because a crash in the software, really a crash in the software is about the only way you're going to lose data on it.
Right. And so you said it gets submitted to the government immediately in detecting Wi-Fi, or is it they have a chance to review it first, or how do you, like, what's the date? How do you ensure data integrity and make sure that actually what the government's getting is correct or correct enough, I guess is the.
From the government's perspective, there's a pretty rigorous specification of what they require. We follow that specification. So we anticipate we can do it by an exception basis. We will examine we will hand the data file off to the government and then feed back any errors that come up from that.
But if, say, you've made an error when entering the data, you realize afterwards, can you log on to the government database and update it? I guess it must be a most days.
This is the beauty of this format. You can't put in the wrong data. There's no user.
Okay.
Your input is the scan from the CCI tag, and then you're following my menu prompts. You can't to do you're following the menu prompts, the preset menu prompts. As long as we've got that coded right, you're eliminating the data right at the source. We think this is a unique value proposition for a built for purpose, single purpose like device like that. You've eliminated even the possibility of human error. Makes these problems go away. Certainly that's our objective, is to get the data right from the animal side and not have to deal with it. Whereas, the alternative is, the producers are given the option of something like this or putting it in themselves. Well, these are 16-digit numbers. You know what the error is like, just have an individual in a 16-digit number.
Yeah.
Bruce, I saw you put up the hand, and I'm
Yeah.
going to.
I was going to ask about the architecture of what you've actually written, what you've written it in. You've already mentioned it's a CSV file, just to keep it simple. What's the back end? Does it go into a database? What?
The architecture at the moment is the operating system is called Pi-Core, which is the Raspberry Pi variant of Core Linux. It's kind of a neat cat. The real advantage to us is once it's finished booting, the whole thing's running in RAM. The actual operating system media is unmounted once it's run, which means you can get a power loss and you won't brick the device. At this hour, we'd probably we know we're going to have to re-architect and modernize for our production product. These haven't been touched now in about 2 years. Raspberry Pi now has an operating mode similar to that. That's the obvious platform to look at. That being said, I suspect that Pi platform is maybe not as lightweight on that. On top of that, we're running bog standard Python 3.5. So it's about 60K of Python code is the key environment. We have 2 data repositories. We have kind of the user one, and that is the authoritative data file are CSV files, and it's more my philosophy. I open it, I write the C file, I close it. If something horrible happens, I at least know there's a CSV file come back. Databases might be more accurate, but if they fail, if you get a corrupt database, now it's impossible to use it to recovery. There's some hope you might recover from a CSV. We also have an internal hidden store that we use for operational data, and we're just using Python. Well, it's been too long since I touched the code. We manage everything internal in Python. The name's escaping me for it. And then we just dump them out to use all the Python tools to do it. So far, it seemed to
I
have done the
presume
job.
things like a 2-stage commit just is too much of a liability for you, because if it goes down halfway through the commit, you're stuffed. Whereas the
Yeah,
CSV file, it's a one write and done.
yeah, exactly. Plus, and then part of the services we sell is then we use rsync, and we just take that whole CSV file and go onto the server,
So
onto a private account on the server. So if the hard, worst case scenario, I send you the data, you reassociate the device to the user, you can pull the CSV files. I at least got something. I may have lost my last session, but I've got something to work
So
from.
you don't try and have like a Wi-Fi link on a farm. I mean, that's a long shot, I admit, where you can actually.
These devices need to be used on the ranges of brooks. Where there's ranges of brooks that are like tens of thousands of hectares. They
So
don't
don't tell me there's no
satellite didn't even.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I didn't know what there ain't. Yeah, satellite is going to be a challenge, let alone Wi-Fi. Yeah, no, that's the yeah the why the other challenge we have here is our public mobile data connectivity is really poor, really spotty. So you can't just shove a SIM card in it, because on 2/3 of ranches it won't work. So yeah, we are the strategy that some were using, and we will probably pursue, is you use Wi-Fi to pair this to your phone. So then you can work with the animals. I got 10 minutes downtime. I go options sync over the phone, sync to the server, then I'm safe. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable safeguard. Yeah.
That's
I'm
our
just-
that's our philosophy at the moment. It's
yeah.
simple.
I'm just thinking, I guess your main competition is, as you showed earlier, a little notebook,
Yep.
which isn't indestructible. You could drop it in a puddle, but it's pretty indestructible.
That's what you have to be able to emulate. One of the first farms we went into test on, we rolled onto the farm and said, okay, what's your current records so that we can kind of get that loaded for you? And they said, we had records. They were in a notebook. They disappeared sometime last fall. So from that regard, we're offering something better, at least better than what they have, because if you destroy this physical device and so on, I'll be the first to admit there's perhaps more sophisticated solutions here. This is what we have found work with, this is kind of the approach we've taken on it so far, and it seems to work.
My guess is that farmers are not looking for sophistication.
They're not looking for sophistication, and they want to own it, and they want to be able to deal with it themselves.
And they want to fix it with a hammer.
That's exactly right. I'm hoping to be in a position that I can sell parts, and when the thing gets 3 years old and the battery gets weak, I'll ship you a battery. You take it apart and fix it yourself. I don't know if we'll get there, but But yeah, that's it. The technology has to work. The technology does work, but will ultimately set us apart and make us successful is the relationship. Everyone in the company has a ranching background, so we can gain the empathy and the trust of the rancher. And there's another whole topic if you want, but it's holding up digitization through all of agriculture. Certainly it's an issue here. Canada, I suspect it's the issue in UK. The reason they stay on their paper is it may be clunky in paper, but it's their paper and they can manage it, they can control it, and they have full knowledge and authority where that data goes. And so we want to be, we're trying to be very forthright in the issues of data ownership, data control, to gain that trust and gain them as a customer. We are unique in this whole space in that the authoritative data, right? The ranchers' authoritative data never leaves the palm of their hand. That's their data. I could not take your data from you if I wanted to, because all you got to do is plug it into a computer and there it is. And that's a very different model than typical in the farm space. But again, that's another whole topic that we can get into. Let me kind of run through the history and the prototyping of it. This is the very first version. Hold it the right way up. This was the very first version cobbled together. There we go. Hold it right way up. This is the very first version cobbled together. There used to be an RFID reader hanging off the side. I must have stolen it for something. The original concept was a much simpler device. The concept was the vast majority of the data records would be done with a computer, like over the web, and then you would just use something like this for the DELT just to collect the updates. That model wasn't viable. We identified very early on that they needed to be able to do more data collection at the animal side, so we needed something more sophisticated. This is about the third version of the prototype. Opened up inside. Sorry, I'm trying to get a good angle. Opened up inside. So this was literally hand soldered in the basement, 40 feet from here. So here's the Pi Zero W. That's an Adafruit something 1000. That does your battery management and buck boost the battery version, the battery output up to the 5 volts you need for it. And then this comes from Australia, from a company called Priority One Design. That's the RFID reader. So it's connected to the antenna, which is in this 3D printed. So the case is off the shelf from a company here in Canada called Hammond Manufacturing. So off the shelf case, custom 3D printed end caps, and then these were all soldered together. So we built 3 or 4 of these. This is how we did our initial testing, validated that we had the right concept, validated that it was usable at the animal side, and so on. So from there, we moved to this, which is our current prototype. So the one I was just showing you, this is what it's like inside. So we got some grant money, and so we could hire someone to build a carrier board. So now we've got a carrier PCB board. So the RFID readers up on here. Here's the zero, and then here's the Adafruit board down here. And as you can see, the lithium battery's tucked in behind there. You've got a power switch, and it's a true power switch. It hits and pulls the power. Didn't really. Let's actually use this one. I mean, the way the interface is really simple. These are menu buttons. So when you have a function, well, there we go. You better see. But anyway, these are menu buttons. So they're functional change all the time. You just label on here what it is. Cursor back and forth, move back and forth menus. And then there's the done button. It's like the enter key. It says move on to the next action. And then this is a toggle, goes up and down. And that's what we have found is sufficient. Basically, we use domain knowledge to be really predictive in our menu selection to make it viable to do your data collection with that simple an interface. So that's kind of where we are today. We're using 0 Ws, so those are obsolete. We're going to have to update that. That's going to have to update our software, so we'll at least have to update the Pi Core we're using. We will absolutely look at using the Raspberry Pi in their safe mode. To do that, I think we're pretty committed to the Python, but our kind of assessment at this point is the two-line LCD display is not marketable and not necessary anymore. We think we can get a better quality display at the price point we want. So we'll move to some sort of larger display, but certainly the overall form factor of the device is right. You need to keep this thing small enough that it's viable to easily carry with you.
I guess you're gonna stay away from touch screens and things like that. You're gonna have your relatively simple menus and things like that instead.
We've had these out where to use it, you had to reach in with your thumb and scrape the ice off of it.
Yeah,
So that's the problem with touchscreen. You can't use it with gloves on. So you can use this in a snowstorm with gloves on. So yeah, we will stick with mechanical buttons. We obviously need a more robust sealed button. But yeah, no, we don't really see touchscreens viable either from a usability perspective or from the delicacy. We want a good, robust, simple screen.
with the
And
battery
cost. We want to keep the cost of these in the 3-figure number.
right. And what about the battery life? What sort of battery life you're getting?
We're getting about 8 or 9 hours out of these. So, and we think that's sufficient. We're aiming for 89 battery hours. We're aimed to be they're usable down to about minus 10 degrees Celsius. There is ranching operations happen here at lower temperatures than that. But if you start trying to push those extreme temperatures, the cost just goes through the roof. So we think minus 10 is good enough. If it's closer than that, you're not going to be messing around with this thing. You're just going to be dealing with the basic operations of it. It's the same thing with hardness and robustness. It's a real challenge because you go to try and engage an engineer and say, well, it's got to be sturdy. And then they start saying, well, this standard or so on. And you got to be very careful because you can say, well, I guess it should be, except now the cost goes through the roof. We want it pragmatic. It's got to be basically usable, but it also can't break the bank when the thing gets broken because given our circumstances, you can't stop it. It will eventually get broken.
And what do the users think of it? Like, what's the feedback you're getting?
Feedback's been positive. Feedback's been good. There's certainly identified there's a need for it. There's a need for it. Feedback from the users we've had it on it is good. We absolutely understand there's going to be a challenge. It's an unusual interface, so we're going to have really good training materials in place. And our model is we want to establish a network of for hire implementation consultants. So we'll ship it to you. You decide. There's really good documentation. If you want to do it that way, that's fine. There's videos here. If you want to get it up and away, that's fine. If you want to hire a neighbor from 5 miles away to come up, you're going up, that's fine. Do it too, whatever you want to work on it.
Can you say a bit more about the how the prototype fell short and about whether you would have started out differently or whether you feel that you needed that prototype to, quotes, fail with and move on and learn from?
The key dimensions, the key dimensions where the prototype falls short, we don't have sufficient charging and battery management on it. We don't have an indicator where the charge is going on. We don't have an indicator of battery life. We absolutely know we have to deal with that because people just assume they're magic. They'd run them until the battery dies off. So we know we have to deal with that. I've already mentioned, this is a 2x16 LCD display. It works, but given the price point of displays, that's probably, we will seriously look at something bigger and better. It just more information makes it easier to use. The 4 families who are doing Flokk has put $350,000 into it. And for that amount of money, we have proven a prototype on 10 ranches. We can say, we know this concept works. I still think that's the way to go. Because, because I'm not out with a pitch deck trying to raise, to have engaged engineering and custom build a case from say one. Well, now you're talking millions of dollars. Uh, we are in the capital space where Canada is, particularly in agriculture. We're struggling to find the $1 million we need to now engage the engineering we need for a proper manufacturable item as it is. If we were starting from nothing, this would be hopeless. So I I would be the first to admit that, when we look at where we are today, we were naive in terms of the total capital required to get a product to market. We kind of said, well, we can get to a prototype. Let's sort it out when we get there. And in hindsight, that's a bigger problem than we thought it was. On the other hand, we're now in the situation, as we said, there's a national requirement for improved livestock animal traceability. The mandated process has hit a wall, and now we're standing here. Yeah, I don't have a product to offer, but I have something that I've proved that works, which puts me way ahead of any other competitor on it. So that's a long-winded to say is we're in a position of not assured success, but we are well ahead of any other potential competitor in this space. And a key part of it was Raspberry Pi and able to do it. The Pi Zero was the exact perfect combination of power efficiency, a full microcomputer platform, which meant I could use familiar development tools and knew I wasn't going to hit a wall in terms of capacity, and just about a perfect right amount of I/O to handle the function we needed.
Thinking of what it does, could you build one with a Pi Pico?
Um, Possibly. When we started this 5 years ago, there was such a massive difference between a microcomputer, the Zero, and well, the Pico wasn't even out there. There was
Yeah.
such a massive difference in the microcomputer size. There was no
Mm.
question you needed that full microcomputer. But you're absolutely right. Now a Pike Zero is multi-core and pushing a significant amount of RAM and so on. It is absolutely would be you could absolutely look at it, whether it's something
Yeah.
it would be a suitable platform. The power efficiency would certainly be nice to have. And I mean, for God's sakes, you can run MicroPython on it. So you probably could even move a bunch of your code over it. So
Or
yes,
you could move that code over. I would move that code over for you in a day.
Possibly. There's some pretty hefty stuff in there. We've got a library. One of the things we do is we take the rancher's data and we use a library available and we drop it on the storage as a Excel spreadsheet.
Mhm.
Excel spreadsheet. And that's our biggest processing burden at the moment. Like it really, it takes the Pi Zero a while. You say, okay, I want to look at my file, and then you got to sit there for 30 seconds while it chugs it out. We're hoping the 0.4 will do it. So at this hour, our philosophy would probably still say with the microprocessor, because this is Linux, I can run anything on here. If I had to run COBOL on here, I could do that, which gives us enormous flexibility. And where we think that might come an advantage is initiating chains of trust. We are kind of in a unique position to create a reliable and immutable chain of trust, whether that's blockchain or a digital signature from a supplier, or so on. But to go right to the animal side, I can prove I was by the animal because I saw that tag. No one can mess with the software on this. I can provide reliable, absolutely authoritative data from the animal side, which the one space where we can see that as advantageous is monetizing methane mitigation. We can prove
I think
that
that would be doable on a Pico 2.
It could very well be.
But now, yeah, you just upped my 1 day estimate to I have no idea how long that would take.
And that's the beauty of a full microcomputer platform.
Yeah.
I don't have well, that's why I do. That's why we all work in Linux, because
Yeah.
the question is never can I do it? It's just how would I do it?
Mhm.
And that's really what we want as well.
Yeah.
I want a platform in place. The question is not can I do it on a Flokk? The question is how would I do it? Because I got a full Linux and then I can run bog standard, as long as it's ARM. No, they sixes are they ARM 6 or 7? Doesn't matter. As long as I can run, as long as I can get an ARM code, I can run it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's it for me as well. Sort of like you start with a Pi, just whatever you dream up, you can do. You start with
Yeah.
a Pico, you start more limited. Not-
When I started this whole process, we said, here's the need. We said, Pi's the perfect platform. I said, hey, this is easy. I'll just buy some Pis. I'm going to buy off the shelf. Somebody's built a small handheld platform for Pis. I'll just buy those, stick an RFID plug. We'll be up and going in a couple of weeks. We think there's a really good company here in serving the livestock market. We think there's a huge market in serving all sorts of needs where they need a rugged, trusted, unmutable digital platform for outdoor operations. We're surprised that something like this isn't available, and we know there's opportunities on it. But at the moment, we're going to stick on, exploiting the opportunity we have at hand.
Are you going to put your platform forward in that role?
Sorry?
Are you going to put your platform forward in that role of being a general purpose, simple interface, rugged, Pi-powered device that's ready for others to prototype and maybe do proof of concept on?
That's absolutely where I'd like to get to eventually. Yeah, no, I'd like to sell you one of these. We take the RFID reader off, strip out all the silly cow software, and say, here's how you build software on our stack. So then you take it and apply it to whatever platform you like. But that's a $10 million capital problem.
With the underestimation of the capital required to get to market, at what stage did the serious capital needs kick in?
Well, it's engaging engineering so that you can produce a product that is manufacturable. That's where it comes down to. Well, and getting them manufactured. Getting that core set of, get your core starting inventory so I can start taking orders and shipping products. And it's not just, the hardware is the largest component of it, but the other aspect of it is to have enough of a sales team and enough of a technical team, because it's a new product. There's inevitably going to be problems, and the success will not be avoiding problems. You can never avoid problems. The success comes in being able to rapidly address them. And that's, you as a founder of one of these companies, you get immense pressure to try and push something to market. They say, we'll cobble something together and get it to market. And I look at it and say, yeah, and it'll be me trying to ship product, fix software, do updates, pitch the company, wash the table, blah, blah, blah. And you just setting yourself up for catastrophe. You've got to be in a position that every market is a reality of it, but agriculture is particular. It's all driven by word of mouth. So you mess up those first 2 customers, you're done. You've got to ensure that you're in a position that those early adopters have an exceptional experience. Because if they do, then you'll gain the rest of the market.
And you mentioned hardware manufacturability. But I think you said it's taken 350K to get to where you are now.
Yeah.
Does that include custom hardware we've not seen, or do you feel you would be able to ship using the platform PCB for the 3 modules you've shown on there today?
The platform we have today is not sellable. is not marketable. If we, if we need more rigorous buttons, we need proper battery management. We probably need to monetize the display. For God's sakes, I'm still using USB-A. I got to get to USB-C. So, yeah. Yeah, we know that. We're not alone in this. This is Canada. We don't have a history of capital that is embracing risk and prepared to invest pre-revenue. We really are. We kind of relied on the U.S. for that. The U.S. did that, did a good job. We were happy to bring them in. Like most of the globe, we're now having to sit here and kind of reevaluate the U.S. relationship. But it's, the one part of this we didn't really understand going into it is a Canadian company with a good idea to serve Canadian customers is secondary of interest to the whole capital and innovation in space. Our incubation systems, our capital, they want somebody serving U.S. market because it's a bigger market. It's going to attract and exit U.S. capital. And so now, so it's certainly understood there's an issue with that because companies like us who are serving critical needs not only for Canadian customers, but this function of livestock traceability has broad national implications as well. We're not well served with the system. That doesn't mean anyone's kind of jumping forward with a solution.
That is one hell of a lesson. Thank you. One hell of a lesson.
It is. We are. If you ever get a chance, there's a Canadian named Kyle Briggs, and he has a blog called Can Innovate. And he does a really excellent job of talking about all of these issues. But at the core of it, what we're really doing is what's called hard tech. And it's basically any innovation that requires hardware or pharmaceuticals falls into this. It's anything where there's a significant capital requirement to get from here to a product in a customer hands. And there's huge value in the space, but it's very hard to find the capital to do it. And what Briggs has really identified that the success outside of the US, the only successful jurisdictions to do this have substantial government support in the adoption space. And it's what it really comes down to. If you haven't got a government who's willing to put money on the table to de-risk the capital, forget it. You'll never catch up with the US and China. And I see stuff coming out of England. It's the same realities being recognized there. As I said, the crisis we anticipated is here. The regulators trying to push the ranchers to do this. The ranchers are legitimately saying, are legitimately saying the thing you're trying to use is a piece of crap. And that was our value proposition, is to close the two. I got to find a decision maker capital to do it. So Peter on the chat asked the question, any thoughts about having a chip in cattle to transmit basic health parameters in a device? There will never be chips implanted in cattle because they migrate. Unless you like chewing on silicone in your steak. No, that's why they use the ear tags. They may fall off, but they don't get into the actual carcass. So no, there will never be a chip into it. There's really no need for basic health parameters on it. There's a group here in Canada having some success with a bolus. So it's like a great big pill. And they give that and it goes into the digestive tract and it stays there. To be honest, I don't know exactly how they make it stay there, but I'm not sure actually it does stay there. But anyway, so there are some people to do it. There are people pursuing it. They haven't got broad technical adoption. Our focus has been this administrative requirement. We kind of take a philosophy of it that there's a lot of people looking at the livestock space, and they're looking at monitoring the health of the animals, predicting the performance of the animals, and so on. These ranchers live. They live in these, they live with these herds 365 days a year. They know that herd better in their head better than you can ever digitize. Our philosophy is we're not going to do that because a rancher can already do that very well. What he can't and doesn't want to do is paperwork. So that's where we're focusing on running our services and the value proposition. The way I've always put it is the current traceability regime is you're going to write it in paper and take it in the house and key it onto the computer. And that's going to work really well because the guy who got into ranching is he likes sitting in the office doing paperwork. By God, that's why he went ranching. He doesn't want to be outside with the cattle. Oh, yuck. He likes being in, So
Yeah.
take the digital tool, push it out to the cattle. Richard, where are we at for time? Are we?
Yeah, we're going to finish up this one, then we can
Okay.
grab a beer, then we'll start the next one. But thanks a lot. That was really interesting. It's really,
That was excellent. Really good.
Yeah, it's
Thank
very
you.
interesting.
Flokk.ca, Flokk.ca. If you go there, you'll find more information about it. There's emails, contacts, anything else. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the interest.
We certainly wish you all the luck in the
Yeah.
product market. We'd love to have you back once you actually have lots of devices out there.
A sane person would have never started this. There's been many a time, I haven't had a proper vacation in 2 years. There's many times you look to give up, and then you look at the potential of this, and you keep on plugging. Anyway,
Cool.
Thank you for the time and attention.
All the best.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.